another subtle attempt to basically say, I have the science and you don't.
No,
and
I
you're
don't
some
have the
sort
science.
of, okay,
This
you
is the
don't.
thing. I don't
Nobody
have the
does.
science.
Do you know that
But without social trust, there's so much that you can't get done.
Well, there's and too much trust is called naivete.
Sure.
Okay. So you know that 2 years ago they discovered a bacteria that was naked to the human eye. They had never seen it before.
Like
was not aware.
Like fully naked?
Again with the, and then one of the scientists who was describing it said it would be like finding a human today who was the size of Mount Everest.
Okay.
And this was 2 years.
You should have seen me in when I was 29. Yeah.
This is 2 years ago. I'm just saying, like, enough with the when have we ever been wrong, and what information could we possibly lack? We're at the infancy. We're at the infancy of understanding these things.
I think you have a misconception of the way most scientists think.
I don't.
I don't think scientists. When have I ever been wrong? The whole idea.
No, but they want to shut up everybody else who doesn't exactly. And of
but
course,
that's why it works. That's why it works.
That we're shutting people up
within this. Okay, within the scientific community, that's why it works. Because if you put something out there that's wrong, 10 other scientists are going to come along. But we don't know what's wrong. 10 other scientists are going to come along and say, that's wrong, and here's why, and this guy is put to shame.
But 16...
It's a self-policing enterprise. What you don't get to do is you don't get to be Sean Hannity debating Bill Nye or debating Dr. Larry Brilliant. You don't get to be like that person debating because you didn't put the work in.
No, I agree, not Sean Hannity, but 16,000 doctors and scientists.
Oh, you're going to give me the Great Barrington Declaration.
Correct.
First of all, it was 6,000.
No, it was 16,000.
Was it 16,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Signed something that basically was...
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
16,000? You want to look that up?
Yeah, I don't have to, but we can, and anything could be wrong because, again, I am not the kind of person.
But here's
I'm always open to new information.
I know. Okay, well, here's some new
concept.
information about the Great Barrington Declaration, which for people who don't know, was put out by 6,000 or 16,000 if we both weren't drunk or high.
Point is, a lot of dissenters who are
dissenters.
Why are your doctors better than my doctors? Is my question. Doctors disagree. I can't get them to agree on my health issues.
Here's several things about the Great Barrington Declaration, which basically said probably like a few months before the first vaccines came out, they were like, now's the time to let her rip. It's like being, a month out from the end of World War I and saying, this is the time to really fuck. Let's let it all cut that part out. Let me go back. Let me go back.
You're obsessed with this issue.
This is the alcohol talking. So 2 months before the first vaccines emerged, the Great Barrington Declaration came out, and these doctors said, we should just do what was Sweden? Do what Sweden did. Let it rip. Let the disease run wild because this will be good for people's immunity. There were a lot of fake names in the Great Barrington Declaration. There's a Dr. Johnny Bananas on there.
He's good. He's good. He looked at my gout. He consults with Dr. Vinny Blumbat.
Funded in part by the National Institute for Economic Research, which is funded by Charles Koch, the Koch brothers.
You wore me down.
So there's an agenda there.
I can't anymore. You're right. Can we stop talking about this?
Maybe not the most reliable.
Okay. Well, the point is, let's forget the Great Barrington. I don't need the Great Barrington Declaration. There is a ruling.
I don't need the Great Barrington Declaration.
I don't.
I don't need any of you know what I have? Bastards.
You know what Missouri versus Biden was?
No. Now you educate me.
Right. Well, see, because if you weren't in your bubble, you would have known that too. But things like that don't get in when you're just looking for the information you already want to think you believe. Okay. But the Biden, a very big court ruling this year, which said that the media companies colluded with the government to keep information out of our hands. Missouri versus Biden. Look it up, man. Look it up. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, the New York...
In what way? What was the
Well, like, for example, the New York Times, their Pulitzer Prize-winning health reporter, they canned because they wanted to look into maybe the origins of COVID were in a lab in Wuhan, China, which of course they very well may have been. I said from the very beginning, this should not be a political issue. It could have started from the wet markets, and it could have started in the lab. Let's not politicize it. They did. Now even Biden administration admits, yes, it might have been coming from a lab. But the New York Times wouldn't let you hear that information.
Yeah, yeah.
That was misinformation. See, that's a danger in saying misinformation, because tomorrow that misinformation might be yours.
What's fucked about that, and again, I'm sure there was a conversation behind the scenes that went on in this regard, is that when you hear originated in a lab, you think, oh, it was cooked up by scientists. It was cooked up by people as a weapon. Like when I think
not necessarily as a weapon, studying it.
But the average person, when they hear
gain-of-function study.
Exactly. But the average person doesn't think that. They think made in a lab, they think, oh, this was a bioweapon.
Who gives a fuck what they think? We're talking about government policy.
They vote.
Okay, but they're not. I don't know what they're voting on, because I lost track of this, but if they're voting on the idea that the virus could have started in a lab, my theory is it probably did. I don't think they intentionally let it out, but it's also not completely impossible that the government of China would do that. The government of China does a lot of awful things.
They do.
And that's why the New York Times wouldn't cover it. And their reporter said, someday we're going to look back at this and understand that we shouldn't have been looking at it at all because it's racist. Racist because they're Chinese. They're perfect people because they're Chinese.
Okay, and here's where...
That's where the woke are.
I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But at this point in time, when the people who are most likely to dismantle democracy would love nothing more than to hear you say, and I'm not going to comment on something that I haven't researched.
You're too tribal. Everything has to be part of the tribe. I can't. I'm sorry that I can't always say the thing that will not piss off the tribe if it's true on the other side.
I'm not going to contradict what you said, because I don't know. I would have to go on my phone after this interview and go, wow, I don't know what Bill was talking about. I guess I should look into it, which I do all the time. It's like I'm not stupid enough to say yes. Is that possible? But we are living in a time where we're caught in this neutral zone between the people who would love nothing more than to see the enterprise of the press dismantled completely, gone. And so I'm a little more forgiving of mistakes than maybe I have been in the past, because I don't want to see that happen, because I do believe the press is the fourth estate. I do believe the press keeps a good bit of checks and balances when it comes to politicians.
What do you mean, the press? The press is
the New York Times, the Washington Post, even the Wall Street Journal.
Okay, you just mentioned all the liberal press that the
Wall Street Journal. I think the Wall Street Journal is illegitimate.
Well, of course they are.
Very conservative. It's op-ed section aside.
Yes.
Which is batshit crazy. But it's the reporting in the Wall Street Journal is solid. That's a conservative.
Right.
I don't think Fox News is solid, but I think the Wall Street Journal is respectable.
Well, but the problem with the media, the world we live in now, is that they...
It's not just the liberal press.
Okay, but the problem with any press, but definitely including liberal press, is that when I hear something, I'll go, okay, you know what? What you're saying is probably true, but it's half the story.
Yeah.
I don't trust either of them.
And that.
Hey, thanks for watching the clip. Hit the subscribe button now so you never miss out on our Club Random content that's posted daily.